championship.
Okay.
I assume that's what they are telling you in the exit interviews. How important is that for you as you analyze this team?
Well, it's good to know what they think. You know, I spend more time with some of the players than I do other players for obvious reasons, and you know, I'll trust some players' opinions more than I will others for obvious reasons as well. Guys that have been around for a long time, they've been through it. You know, you're going to listen to somebody like that more than you would a rookie or a guy that's been around a year or two or it's first year with the team. So it's important to hear what they have to say. You know, certainly nobody has come in and said this team can't win. They've all been on the same page. They're disappointed. You know, they can't point to one thing, and they've got a feeling in their stomach very similar to the feeling they had when we got beat by Boston 3 years ago. You know, and it's going to stay there until training camp next season. And I think if there's a silver lining in losing, that's it. You get hungry again, and then we'll see.
Andrew has expressed, what do you think about Andrew's progress, and also he expressed he'd like a bigger role in offense?
Well, the new coach will certainly determine everybody's role on the team, whether it's offensively or defensively. Andrew made gigantic steps this year. First and foremost, he finished the season healthy, and that's something he hasn't been able to do the last 2 or 3 years. And it looked like he also matured. A lot of young players, all they think about is just scoring the ball, and he was able mid-season to make a change for the betterment of the team, and dedicate or devote the remainder of the season, on the defensive end and rebounding, and it looked to me like he had an impact. But I also saw him develop, some parts of his game offensively that we had not seen before. For example, shooting the ball a little bit. So that's going to be a factor going forward as some veterans get older. Some of our younger players will start to enter their prime. And, once again, when we get down to hiring a coaching staff, there'll be a lot of film watching, a lot of conversations, and those decisions will be made by the new coach.
Mitch, you've been through this before, losing Phil. How is it different this time? And what has he meant in this in that period where you got him back?
Well, getting him back, certainly has led to, 2 playoff appearances where we got beat in the first round, but 3 consecutive appearances in the finals. So his impact on his return has been huge. From a personal level, he's been, he's made my job a lot easier. We worked, I thought, very well together. I'll miss him on a personal side, and I'll miss working with him. I'll miss looking out the window and watching him conduct a practice. I'm not sure I'll miss watching him trying to walk across the court. But I'll miss the other things. And I don't know what the future holds for him. He goes through his medical check at the conclusion of every season. I'm sure he's going to do that this year. Hopefully everything checks out. And, whatever it is he decides to do, he's happy doing it.
You try to talk about it at all?
I had plans to sit down with him, but I think that right now is not really, based on not only what took place last week, but a couple of conversations I've had with him in the last week or 2 or 3. It's clear to me that, he's done, he's made his mind up, and, he's ready to move on, and he's comfortable with where he is.
Do you have any indication what Shannon Brown and Matt Barnes will do with their contract options?
Matt and I and Shannon and I have, had the exit meetings as well. Not really. Not really. They have until the end of June, to make the decision. So even if they did tell me what they would like to do, I think it's premature to, say what's going to happen, since anybody can change their mind. It's an emotional time for all the players. I encourage them both, to meet with your representatives and do what's best. So I'm sure they're thinking maybe, they have a better feel. And once again, if they did share something with me, I wouldn't share it with you anyway.
You're the architect of this team and this franchise. You put the pieces on the court for the coaches. In your opinion, what was wrong offensively and defensively with this team?
Well, you're asking me to pinpoint, I think, the reason why we got beat by Dallas, and I'm not sure I can do that.
No, I mean in general, just as the season went along, everyone said it was the offense, everybody said it was the defense, and you played this game. One thing, you're the architect that sets the table. What did you see that wasn't as good as you would have liked offensively and then defensively on the court? Not just in this series.
You know, I'm going to decline to answer that. You know, we had some stretches during the regular season, as I answer the question. I'm going to decline. You know, we've had some stretches where we've lost games we should not have lost, and then we had a stretch where we won 17 of 18. And then I thought, you know, several games in the New Orleans series we were dominant. So I think it's just an inconsistency. I don't think with our team scoring points, you know, would ever be something that would be hard to do. And clearly, you know, if you want to talk about the Dallas series, they just ran us ragged. You know, they were basically an exceptional jump shooting team, incredibly energized, feeding off, you know, a game one victory. And we didn't play at all well in game two. So my feeling, with the exception of game three, you know, we just didn't, you know, contend or defend as well as we could have. But at that point, you know, the series, it started on a Monday and it was basically over on a Sunday. It's just, if you can't extend a series, there's really no chance or no time to make an adjustment. And after losing game one, we were on our heels. And at that point, it's, you know, try to win a game when we couldn't win a game.